So today we're doing something a little bit fun, out and about. Gorgeous day to do it. What is it? Let's find out next. Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave here, and today I wanted to take a drive around the area and kind of give you a comparison to think about with where you live. I've been in various different places around, I don't know, the western half of the United States, and I thought today might be just a normal, typical day to go take a look at what we have, and then you can compare that to what you have. So first off, we're just leaving the Nampa area, cruising along the freeway, and we're kind of like the middle of the afternoon on a Thursday. So you tell me, is this how traffic moves on your freeway where you live? So all right, it's just a matter of a couple of minutes, and now we're already at the Meridian exits. So the valley isn't really all that big, and it probably, I don't know, feels smaller because we can get around so much quicker. Now, yes, I know there's all these stories from the old timers, and they're saying, oh, there's so much traffic anymore. Why? I remember when this was a 2-lane dirt road, uphill both ways. I'm sure we all know those stories, right? But it's pretty nice. And what do I have to compare that against? I mean, am I just like saying these words to be saying them? No, actually. So, you know, before I was a real estate agent, I was a truck driver. And sometimes that driving took me through, the LA area. One of the places I really did not like driving through was on the 210. Have you driven on the 210? Do you know what I'm talking about? Literally, my truck attacked me because of the 210. I'm driving along, potholes big enough to swallow a Volkswagen, and my cab of my truck is just all over the place, and I got cabinet doors opening, stuff flying off the shelves, your Windex, paper towels, my food, everything's just flying around inside that truck because that's how the 210 is. It's just one big mess. Oh, and I didn't even talk about the traffic. I was just talking about the potholes. You seen any even potholes on this one? No. This is pretty nice, isn't it? But the traffic, oh my gosh. It just takes like one idiot, and there's always one somewhere, to do something wrong, and then traffic gets backed up. Because it's already at such maximum capacity to start with, it just takes that one idiot to set off that chain reaction. And I remember this so many times in the Sacramento area where I lived, was that you could be going along 80 between, say, San Francisco and Sacramento, and there'd be this point where everybody just slows down, and you're in traffic, you're waiting 10, 15, 20 minutes, and inching forward, and you finally get to the point where the traffic just takes off again. Maybe there was a wreck there at some point in the past, but it's just that natural, there's just so much traffic, there's not enough extra capacity on the road to let traffic get back to normal. So traffic would slow down at that choke point for hours and hours and hours after the event, whatever it was, had happened. Oh my gosh, look at this. We're coming up on the Boise exits already. And we've just been, we just kind of started, didn't we? Another commute that I had for a while was through the Bay Area. I was up in Vacaville, I live there. And I commuted to Hayward. And anybody know the 680? Yep, I would take that down and then cut across by Castro Valley to get to Hayward. And going to work was not that bad. Mind you, you had to get up earlier and earlier all the time to beat that big glut of traffic. So you could play that little trick, just get up earlier and earlier every couple, 3 months, and But so the traffic going into work was almost like a dance. You'd see the same people every day, and they'd be, putting their makeup on, eating their breakfast, but we're all going, pretty lickety split down the road, in and out, but everyone's moving really fast. But then by the time you come home for the day, you got the non-super commuters out there, and they're just, I don't know, some of them like follow the speed limit, some of them can't make up their minds, and there's just more and more cars out there, so traffic would just get slower and slower. And I remember when I had first started commuting that, and it was in probably November, we had our first rain of the season, and coming back up on the Nimitz and to 80, and there was 3 different wrecks. And I want to say I got off at 4, I didn't get home till like 9 o'clock. The same trip that took me, an hour going in the morning, took me like 5 hours to get back home that night. It was just incredible. Another story about that same time, so I'm working down in Hayward, and this is when we had Gray Davis. Remember him? Gray Out Davis? And he had these rolling blackouts, and I would try to get from the surface streets in Hayward, get up on the freeway, and then they'd have the metering lights. And but during the time where they had these gray outs, traffic lights didn't work, and so everyone's doing the 4-way stop thing. There's just thousands and thousands of cars, and it just would take forever to go a couple of miles to get on the freeway. So, and then those metering lights, I mean, it's all comes back to capacity. Maybe they work good in theory on some engineer's drawing board, but once you get out into the real world and you just pump up all this capacity, and then the metering lights, basically they just start backing up traffic onto the surface street, so it just takes so much longer. But the freeways are still at capacity, and they really don't do any good. We don't have metering lights here. We don't have HOV lanes, high occupancy vehicle, carpool lanes. We don't have those lanes that, the rich people, the potentates, that they can pay extra and drive all by themselves. We don't have those. So that's one good thing we've got going for us. And once you get moved up here, and we get one of those pointy-headed guys that said, "Oh, we need to have this to, save the environment. We need to have a lane just for politicians so we can save the environment." I'd like to have your help in making sure that those kind of radical ideas get kind of snuffed out right away. So here we are coming into downtown Boise. So I was talking about Sacramento earlier. There's a lot of similarities in a way between Sacramento and Boise. They're both the capital of the state. Okay, well, that's about it. Oh, and I've lived in both places. Well, I haven't lived in Boise, but I've lived nearby and come down here pretty frequently. You tell me. I'll just kind of be quiet here for a minute and let you see what you think. This is really a nice little downtown. There's not that much traffic. Then I was thinking back, I used to be a furniture delivery guy. So driving the delivery truck, a little bit bigger than that van right there, through Sacramento. But we had some places that were down off of Alta Arden, someplace down there. And depending on when, I'd go down Watt. Sometimes I cut over on El Camino. And I got to tell you, every one of those roads was such a dramatic event. It was so much. Well, and there it is, back to capacity. Just so much traffic. Every light, you'd be backed up, and it would take a cycle or two to get through. So comparing this to downtown Sacramento, there's a lot more big trees, I think. But if we go like 2 blocks off to the right, then we have tons of trees over there. And now we're kind of, I don't know, not too far from the other end of the downtown area. That's just about it. Over here on the right will be, like on the other side of the river, will be BSU. Well, we just went by a parking garage. There's parking garages all over the place. And I think they're pretty cheap. It's like maybe the first hour is free or something. Or we're not too far from the zoo. There's Whole Foods. And there's Broadway. And that will get you back out of the town to the right. If we kept going straight, I think we have to make a little jog. We're going to get down into the old houses, Warm Springs area. I think they call it that partly because they all have the geothermal heat to those old houses. So also, while we're driving around, I want you to compare this to what you see in your town as far as, I don't know, strip malls and home. I don't want to make this a video about all the crap that's going on in your place. I'm just more like the fields. Like, could this feel like California from like 30 years ago? The reason that you probably lived there. Let's see. I had some other things I want to mention while we're down here. So again, I don't want to just compare this to Sacramento. It's a place that, like I said, compares fairly easily because of some things. Okay, two things. It's the capital and I've lived there. But I've also driven a lot through Salt Lake City. One of my truck terminals was there. And the thing that really struck me about that every time was literally coming up from the south of Salt Lake City and from the south end of all the, civilization in that area up to the north end is literally 120 miles of town and traffic and just congestion, many lanes of roads. Just off to the right is the VA hospital. So yeah, it always stressed me out. They had a lot of the freeways through Salt Lake City. They have put new ones in, and a lot of them are nice and smooth, but there's still a lot of construction going on, and it is what it is, part of the process of getting better. But of course, you might have seen my recent video where I went back east to visit family, and I've been through Denver many times, and it's a similar situation there, from the north part of Denver, like up at Loveland, all the way through Denver, just miles and miles of just traffic. And the kind of traffic that just kind of like, shoots your nerves after a while. Don't get that here. And here's the Capitol, kind of there on the left. Is this how easy it is to drive through your town? I did a little bit of research. I guess that's what I do. So back to Sacramento for a point of comparison. City of Sacramento, the city urban area, I guess that's how they defined it, is population-wise 1.44 million in the urban area of Sacramento. 1.44 million people with cars and homes and standing in line. Compare that to the Boise urban area, if you will. 455,000. In essence, the Sacramento urban area has 1 million more people than what we do right here in the Boise area. 1 million more. 3 times as much. So what about the whole metro area, the greater metro area? Sac, Roseville, Orangevale, and so forth. That population is 2.66 million people. The population of the Treasure Valley, and this is not just the urban area of Boise, but also at the Nampa, Caldwell, Middleton, Parma, Melba, just kind of goes on and on. And 700 and just shy of 750,000 is what they estimate. So in our entire valley, we have half of what they have in Sacramento just in the urban area. So yep, 750,000 is certainly more than we used to have. But compared, density wise, we're still nothing compared to even the Sacramento area. And the Sacramento area really, other than their stinking red lights all the time and just too many people, is nothing compared to, say, the Bay Area. Oh my gosh. The East Bay, the Peninsula. And then that's really nothing compared to, say, LA. And okay, it's going to reference Salt Lake City and Denver again. Those still aren't as bad as LA. LA just is traffic all the time. In fact, in LA, I've seldom ever got off of a highway or freeway. I never would get through a town like this unless I was making a delivery there. And then they'd be all, because there's so much, it's so older. I mean, Boise's old, but we have so much of it that's new and then refurbished, if you will. So things are pretty nice. As far as, for instance, going through, I don't know, parts of Seattle or the Bay Area and parts of LA where it's just old communities, 60, 70-year-old communities, and the streets are so narrow. And I'll throw this out there. I was going through Lincoln on my trip, and there's all these streets that used to be 2-lane, but then they really squished down the lane so they could put a third lane down the middle. It's like a turn lane in the middle. And it's like, none of these, I mean, if you have 2 pickups with mirrors sticking out like the one in front of us, they'd be whacking mirrors all day long. So these old parts of town, they just try to, I don't know, make it more traffic friendly, but it ends up making traffic worse because it just binds everything up. But here, so, I mean, this is kind of an older part of town, but look how wide everything is. We're not hitting every light red either. We hit a couple, but oh my gosh, Sacramento, are you kidding me? Every light was red. And I don't know, maybe they do that on purpose. So that's the density comparison. Boise, 455,000 in the urban area, a million more, 1.44 million in Sacramento. So just that many more people is going to make such a big difference. So yeah, I mean, obviously we do have some traffic here. And there's going to be some areas coming up that have that aren't all that pretty. Well, there's that place on the right. See, obviously they're getting ready to build something new there. And there's some properties coming up here on the left. It's got a bunch of old trailers from like the 50s that aren't all that pretty, but I'm sure they're just waiting for the right developer with the right price to come along and buy it up and do something with it and make it nice and functional and open and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to touch on it just a little bit. Have you seen any tents? Do you see any squeegee men out here? I mean, sure, it's March 3rd. Today it's pretty nice out. It's like in the mid 60s, which is pretty nice. But we haven't had any rain, and so the grass is kind of, well, as it should be, brown. We had some pretty cold temperatures just a few days ago, so we're still in the winter. So it's not all nice. Oh my gosh, we need to come and do this in the spring. Everything is just green and vibrant. But we're here today, and you know what? It's still not all that bad, is it? Just thought we'd enjoy the drive today. So there's a new project there that looks like, what is that? apartments or condos are on the left. Burger and Brew. Wow. All these places I haven't been to. I'm just needing a reason. And you come up here and we go out looking for properties. It becomes lunchtime. I'm saying that's reason enough that we need to stop in at some of these places. So let me throw this out there while we got a quiet moment. And that is, if you are thinking about moving to Idaho, or it might be on your list, give me a call, shoot me a text, email me, Treasure Valley Marine, Treasure Valley Steven. We've all relocated from someplace else, and we've been through the process, and we got tons of experience, and we can get you answers that you maybe didn't even know you had questions to. So be sure to do that. All the contact stuff's down below. Seems to be moving along pretty decently. Like I say, mid-afternoon. I'm sure it'd be a little bit more traffic, say at 5 o'clock, but compare it to where you live, middle of the afternoon, is it this easy to get around? Okay, I know where you live, it's probably 75 degrees and everything's looking more spring-like. But we do have those 4 distinct seasons here. I think it's pretty nice. Even though we have this time of year where it's kind of grungy, the green hasn't come back in the trees and the grass, but that's a very small price to pay for all the beauty you get about with 4 distinct seasons. Back in the old days, back in California, I used to work at Fairfield Toyota. I would sell Toyotas. It was a product I drove and I believed in, and they were decent cars. Anyway, we were right there on Interstate 80 in Fairfield, and a lot of you guys probably know exactly where that's at. But on Sunday afternoons, we could watch the traffic coming back from, I guess, the Tahoe area, and they would just back up. And I would see, 4 lanes of traffic in Fairfield at a complete stop as everyone's heading back to the Bay Area. Week after week after week, it was like that. Just like so many people, so much traffic, and it just it made no sense to me. Why would you even go anywhere? I mean, if it takes half the time, 2/3 of the time just to get there and back, and then when you do get wherever it is you're going, you have to wait in line and wait in line and wait in line. Whether it's to get an ice cream cone or to go down a ski run or whatever. It's just like there's so many people. But here, it's pretty easy to get there. There's not so many people that you have to wait all day to do whatever you're doing. And that includes something as mundane as just going to Winco to get your groceries. Not every time, but it's not uncommon for me to get a parking spot, right up front. And I never have to walk all that far away anyway. It's just different here. Maybe it is like California 30 years ago or 40 years ago. They used to call it the Golden State for some reason, right? So we're going over the Boise River. I guess this is Garden City. Well, I know it is. And there's the Garden City City Hall on the right. The expo is up here on the left where they have the state fair. I don't know if they still do that or not. It's, a very busy part of town, which is probably why we got 3 people right in front of us at the stoplight. How many people are in front of you at your stoplight? We just got off of what becomes Highway 44 that goes up through Eagle. That would have been the next city. But we're cutting down here to Highway 2026/Chinden. Chinden's one of the major east-west roads that leave out of Boise 2 points west, as was the road that we were just on. And they still all move pretty nicely. I know for some of you guys, this is just a boring drive around, but if you're that serious where you're watching videos like this, then you want to know what it's actually like to live here. And this is what it's actually like to live here. So it's not, a super stimulating episode of what? I was going to say The Simpsons, or can I say In Living Color? Anybody old enough for that reference? But you're getting an idea of what it's like to live here. So if you work downtown Boise and you commute back out to, I don't know, Meridian, this may well be the road that you're on. You just get a different feel here. And I mean, we're pretty much running the speed limit. You know, it's not like so bumper to bumper. And maybe where you're at, there's other stressors like, I don't know, because it takes so long to get any place, you're always late. Maybe there are encampments and homeless and, I don't know, bad people that might want to carjack you or something like that. I think it's kind of a cool view off to the right there. It's a little hazy today, so you're not really getting a good view of it, but you can see some of the valley down there along the Boise River, and then the hills over there between us and Emmett. And Emmett might be a good option for you. It's an easy drive over there. It is 14 miles from Emmett to get over here to, well, Highway 44. So if you're commuting, I know people live there and commute into the valley. It's like, okay, so you're at home right now thinking, well, you know, it's really not that big of a deal to commute hour and 15 minutes. Like, you know, that's what everybody does, no big deal. The average commute time here in the Treasure Valley is 17 minutes. And I tell you what, after you do that for a while, and you get to the point where I can leave the garage and I can get to work in 15 minutes, you get used to that after a while. And the hour and 15, maybe you're a super commuter and you're 3 hours out, you won't even consider that. In fact, you'll find it kind of a repulsive idea altogether. And I'm finding that so much about people, even me, coming from California, is that you have all these things that are now seem normal, and then once you get up here and you de-stress for a year maybe, and you go, you know what, all those things that I used to feel were normal, they're really not normal, are they? No, they're not. So where do we have here? Chinden and Eagle Road. Eagle Road's definitely one of the main arteries, north and south, and it's the busiest street in the entire state. And if you're trying to find something that feels like California, this is the street that you'd come on, because this one's got the most traffic on it. Keeping all that in mind, you tell me what you think about this. Obviously, I didn't pre-plan this. This is just the way it is. So we're just south of the town of Eagle in Meridian on Eagle Road. Another mile, we'll be coming up to the village, that big shopping area on the left. Out here more in Meridian, we will find, I guess, strip malls like we just saw on the right. And, you know, they're not the maybe stereotypical rundown pieces of junk strip malls, but, well, and that's the thing, we've been growing so much here that everything just really has this feel of new to it. Oh, there's a huge skate park there on the right. Looking for graffiti, people selling drugs. Sorry, I didn't see any. Yes, you will hear on the internet all those old timers saying, oh my gosh, it's so busy, there's so many people here, blah, 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 they all need to go back. Really? Where did you come from? Huh. So, well, yeah, but that was 10 years earlier. I don't know. And I get it on the one level, is they don't want to see their community change. And I think if you really boil it down, what they don't want to see change is they don't want to see Idaho become like California in the political, liberal, societal sense, where not only do we tolerate homelessness, smashing, oh look, there's a Walgreens. And you guys are losing those. Smash and grabs, shopliftings. And I mean, the people that find that abhorrent, you're the bad guy. And people the media, the woke folks, they point their fingers at you. It's like, oh, if you find that bad, then obviously you're bad because this is being, I don't know what, it's not tolerant. Is there anything but tolerant when it comes to your views? Am I right? Here we are on Ustick Road, which is another one of those roads that go completely across the valley. I think it's Henry P. Ustick. He started a little town over there on the north edge of Boise, and then that's the road that came from into his little town. I guess there's still literally like 2 or 3 buildings, original buildings from the little town of Ustick. And then he moved on someplace. But the name, Ustick, still sticks. Uh-oh. Now we got some traffic. Are they all coming over here to Krispy Kreme? Nope. Is it because of the construction up here? I'm going to say that's a 10-4. I'm glad you got to see this. This is one of those times where I go, Dave, you know what? It's not that bad. The reason I say that is because there's a reason for traffic to be like this. Whether it's construction, I did see some construction signs, or maybe there's a wreck. But it's not like this every day because there's too many people here. Anyway, we could be here a while, and this might get a little boring. We had a pretty good run this afternoon, huh? Let me just remind you again, if you're thinking about that Idaho might be the place for you, please give us a call, text, shoot us an email, message us somehow, and see what we can do to answer your questions. Typically what we can do is, what you'll do is have your fact-finding trip, and you'll come up here, and then we'll meet, and we'll go look at some communities. Sometimes we have lunch. Maybe we'll look at a house if you're that far along, but you need to find out if this is the right area for you or not. I mean, why look at houses until you know if this is where you want to be, if you're okay with this quality of life or not. If you found this video interesting, helpful at all, please go ahead and share it, like, subscribe. That really does help us out. That tells YouTube that you're enjoying watching this, and it really makes a difference. So thanks for coming along. I've enjoyed our little ride today. And remember, this is Treasure Valley Dave, always looking forward to helping you get home.